My guest today is Bruce Stark from Ortho-Bionomy, and really stoked to be able to have a chat with you here at the Massage and Myotherapy Conference. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about how you got into the industry.
Oh, right. Well, purely by accident, not anything I was interested in doing, I thought, to begin with, but I originally got introduced to Ortho-Bionomy work back in the 1980s, and I was going to a practitioner for working with my own neck and back issues, and was really impressed with the changes that occurred in something that felt really totally different than what I expected, because I'd had massage before, and this was very different. There was movement and positions and holding me in different orientations of my body, but significant changes happening from that. So I continued as a client for a couple of years, and of course still really interested in kind of the ideas about how it works. So I was told that there was a course happening, took the course, really loved it. Never planned on doing it, but just to learn about it more. So I did that, became a practitioner, still no interest in doing it as a profession. And then it was halfway through my advanced practitioner training that I thought, I think maybe I really do want to do this, right? So then I decided to transition from my job as a civil servant and to just jump right into doing bodywork full-time, and have been doing it ever since.
Wow. So what year would that have been when you went into it full-time?
I had full-time in 1994.
Wow.
Yes.
So what was it like being, as a civil servant, I'm guessing professional person, to then stepping into bodywork in the early 90s? What was that like?
It was a big deal.
It would have been a big deal. That's what I'm thinking.
It's always a big deal. Well, part of it was that it was probably part of my own personal development, I think, was a key part of it, because it was my transitioning from being completely disembodied and learning more about myself, about how my body worked, how to take care of myself in a way and sense what was going on in my body. That became like a stronger message for me. I was also working in criminal justice research, so I was developing felony sentencing guidelines for the state of Wisconsin, something that not everyone does.
Yeah.
And it was a position, a job that I had maximum security of, I had a pension, I had health insurance, this is in the States, I had all of this stuff that was, I couldn't really be sacked unless I did something horrible. But I recognize that maximum security is also the name of a prison, which I visited a few of for work, and I thought, actually, no, this is holding me back. And so I got to the point where I said, I'm going to make this change. As soon as I get 10 regular clients a week, that's going to be the time that I make the decision to change.
Yeah.
And so, having set that goal and having put everything in place for that, in 1994, that was when I hit that target, and I said, okay, that's what I said I was going to do. I'm going to do it. Gave my notice, and have not looked back.
Wow.
Have not looked back.
That's incredible. And I love to hear the transitions of how someone's gone from fully employed to fully working, working in their own terms.
Yeah.
When did you get into teaching of Ortho-Bionomy?
Well, that again, I also wasn't interested. I didn't think I was interested in doing. So I guess my training always precedes my interest in doing it. So I was actually invited into the instructor training program for Ortho-Bionomy, and I kind of went, okay, well, I'll do this, but I don't, teaching is really what I want to be doing, I don't think. And same sort of thing. I became an instructor, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, actually,
I really love this.
I really like this. And in fact, I realized that that's what I was doing all along, was teaching in so many different ways. And so it was really embracing something that was already going on.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. So do you teach in the USA and in Australia, or mainly in Australia now?
Mostly Australia and New Zealand now. When I first started, so I was still living in the States then, so I traveled around the States a lot, teaching. I was probably, before I moved to Australia, it was probably 3 to 4 weekends a month, somewhere else across the States teaching.
Yep.
Then came to Australia where I was originally teaching a bit here. I would come a couple of trips a year, and so got here and decided that this was a place to live, and started the whole process here.
Wow, that's incredible. For those who maybe are listening and don't know what Ortho-Bionomy is, how do you explain what it is?
It's a question that I get a lot, which is fine because I love talking about ortho-bionomy. In fact, I can talk about it for days nonstop. So anyway, stop me if I go too far. Ortho-Bionomy it's a type of work that was developed by a British osteopath in the 1970s. He was wanting to find a way to work with the body that was gentle, non-invasive, didn't use any kind of force. This was back in a time when there was a start of interest in positional release technique. So the Lawrence Jones's strain counter strain was just kind of being talked about, but in the UK it wasn't really being accepted much, partly because it was challenging to do. It took a lot of time that you would hold the positions, and so the developer, his name is Dr. Arthur Lincoln Pauls, he said that, well, people aren't going to really do something different if you can just do a thrust technique in 10 seconds and create a change. Why would you wait a minute and a half or take time with that? So he said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out a way to get positional release to occur quickly.
Okay.
And from that point on, he developed this technique. He not only working with joints and working with the body, but working with all kinds of other sorts of issues with the body, partly because he was paying attention to what he called the reflexive responses in the body, that from the osteopathic background, the body has the capacity to heal itself in other areas as well too. It's not just osteopathy, but that's where he was coming from.
Yeah.
And so the issue was, well, what does that look like? What are the signs that self-correction is happening, and how do we facilitate that? Anyway, so Ortho-Bionomy then was developed developed specifically to address structural imbalances, pain issues. It's unique in its gentleness and non-invasiveness because it can be helpful for people who can't tolerate pressure, or special populations, elderly, or certain sorts of injuries, working with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, those sorts of things where more intensive stuff it's essentially contraindicated, really.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of using position, movement, isometrics. We do what he called reflexes, tracking reflexes through the tissues, so different tissue responses, and he even expanded it to going into the energetic levels of working with body.
Yeah.
So realizing that there's more to us than just the physiological, and so bringing all of those sorts of things together.
Yeah.
So it becomes quite versatile to be able to address a lot of different types of issues.
And is it typically done clothed, unclothed? Like, what would a typical session look like?
Typical session is it's usually clothed, which is also been a benefit for a lot of people as well too. So do it clothed. Usually a session's about an hour.
Yep.
Through the session, generally are focusing on the particular issues that person's presenting with. It can also be used as sort of a general relaxation sort of thing as well too at points that I've been working with for years because it's their self-care thing as well. But generally focusing on these specific areas, and as part of all of the sessions, we also identify specific self-care exercises for people to do between sessions, because obviously we can do so much during a session, but they're out in the world, and what will help to continue the work and help to deepen the work will be the self-care work.
Okay. And why do therapists normally take Ortho-Bionomy as a training? Like, when does it sort of fit into their career?
It's interesting, because they're people. Most of the people who are coming into the training are already body workers, already doing massage therapy generally, and they're looking for something that is getting that next level of working with the structure, working with structural sorts of issues. Also, one of the key components of Ortho-Bionomy is that it's very comfortable for the client. There's not a pain dynamic that's part of it. What's also important is that it's also comfortable for the practitioner.
Nice.
So practitioner comfort is as important as client comfort.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for things to be able to work with to keep progressing in their career, in their profession, and basically to support them, make it so that we're capable of doing that as we go on in our job experience with it.
Okay. And for you, when you're training, is it all face-to-face? Is there some online? How do you offer the training?
Training, the hands-on stuff, face-to-face. During COVID, we now had to make some modifications of
yes,
that.
Didn't we all?
And we did. It was, we did. We were very creative.
Yes.
However, in person, hands-on is how the hands-on courses are mostly done. But there are other sorts of things that I do that are online, and those would be relating to anatomy and physiology training, other sorts of ethics issues, and those sorts of things. Those can do those particular trainings online. There are also part of the training program something called study groups. So there are a certain number of study groups required for that, usually relating to specific topics. And so I do most of those online.
Okay.
And so I have fortnightly, 3-weekly sort of webinars that I teach on various aspects of issues that people are being presented with as practitioners and how to address those using Ortho-Bionomy.
Fantastic. That sounds great. We'll make sure that we put all of your links to all your websites and how people can connect with you.